In this video, we will be covering Feature Manager. What is Feature Manager? Feature Manager is a hole creation module which allows you to create holes, automatically creating CAM attributes to be machined. Within the modeling dropdown, we're going to select Feature Manager. There are many different hole attribute callouts that you can assign within Feature Manager, such as a drilling hole, a tapping hole, counterboring plus drilling, jack screws, reaming, and much more. We'll start out with the drilling functions. Here, you can input the data you want. We're going to choose our hole as a 1/2 inch diameter, and we're going to make it through. So that way, the hole goes all the way through the plate. Once we confirm that, I will select a face. This is going to be where we're going to determine the direction, and we're going to use enhanced pick to determine the incremental values. For this example, we're going to go 3/4 of an inch in the X and 3/4 of an inch in the Y. As you can see, this will offset that hole based on that application point I selected. We're going to quickly repeat this process for the other 3 corners as well, typing in the parameters for those corners too. Next, we're going to create tapped holes. Tapped holes are database driven, and it automatically calculates the pitch for the thread based on the diameter of the hole. As you can see, there's many different types of features. There's UNC inch for coarse threads, and UNF inch for fine threads. For our example, we're going to scroll down here. You will see that there's a 1/2 13, 1/4 20, and 3/8 16. So we're going to go ahead and select the 1/4 20 here. It's automatically going to determine the depth based on the thread diameters it needs, but you can adjust that as needed. So, as you can see, it's going to create a pre-drill depth, a tip depth, and more. In this case, we're going to veer away from the default, and we're going to put in a deeper depth, so we're going to make this 3/4 of an inch. So once I have the parameters set the way I want to, I'm going to go ahead and hit the green checkbox and pick the face I want that direction to come off of. So, I'm going to go ahead and select this face right here. And just like our previous example, I'm going to use the enhanced pick and type in an offset. In this case, I'm not going to move anywhere in X, but I'm going to move 2.3 inches in Y. And as you can see, it creates that hole. So now, let's say I want to make a couple of copies of that hole. I'm going to go to the modeling dropdown and select the pattern commands. I'm going to use the rotation command. When we're using the rotation command, we need to make sure we pick the entire face of the area, choose our application point where we want to rotate this around, which is the center of that hole, and the direction, which I'll choose Z. When I'm doing this, I can select multiple copies, choose I want 3 copies, and with equally spaced, I don't need to put an angle in there because it's going to calculate that equal spacing based on the quantity of holes. I'm also going to use the pattern command, and this time we're going to do a mirror. We're going to mirror, in a 2-directional mirror, that pattern across those other areas. So if I go to Modeling, Pattern, and Mirror, I'm going to use block control and select all 4 of those holes. We're going to select 2-sided here. And when I right click, the application point I'm going to choose is the center of the block. I'm using equidistance to find this. And then I determine the direction I want to mirror around, which in this case will be the X. So you can see how it equally distributes those holes across all of those different areas. Observe, if I zoom into one of those holes for the tap, you can see that there's threads implemented in, as well as a pre-drill hole. These values change whether it's a coarse thread or fine thread, and that based off the diameter of the hole. For the last feature I'm going to make in this video, I'm going to go to counterboring plus drilling, which allows you to input the diameter and the depth of the counterbore, and the diameter and the depth of the drill hole. In this case, we're going to do 1 inch for the counterbore with a 1/4 inch depth, and a 1/2 inch for the drill with a through hole. We'll select the face here. I'm going to turn this to a top-down view, pressing G to enable the grid, and V to switch between wireframe and shading. If I press the S key, this enables a snapping point, which allows me to equally distribute that hole across my grid. So you can see I can select points on it, and it only snaps to specific points that I have preset for the file. This allows me to equally distribute that hole across the file, and I know what distance each thing is. That is because this is preset through System Grid Parameters. This is where you control the local file settings for this, as well as where you control the Show Grid and the Enable Snap. Under System, System Options, and Grid, this is where you can control the global default, so every time you open VISI, that's the setting you see. And now, for every hole that we create within Feature Manager, you will see that there is a CAM attribute assigned to each one of those holes, based on me scanning it. These CAM attributes are important because they will transfer over to machining. So if I go to CAM Navigator, and I end up scanning this using the feature recognition, all the holes that I created within Feature Manager will detect as how they're defined. So if I go to Find Features, and let's say I select that tapped hole here, it will show me where that feature is available in CAM to be machined.